How you doing? And welcome into Cronkite Sports Live. I'm Troy Lynch alongside Dominic Catronio. Dom, last night the NFL draft, some pretty exciting stuff, but I have to say, if there were a draft for anchor partners, you'd be my first pick.
Oh, thanks, buddy. But my 1-1 would be Zach Poklep, actually.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, we got a good connection.
You can't just blindside me on the show like that.
We got a good connection, man. I can't refute that.
Oh my gosh, fine.
Know who else has a good connection right now, though?
Who?
ASU Lacrosse.
Oh my gosh.
As they move on to the semifinals of the SLC playoffs. 16 is a pretty sweet number. Beyond driver's licenses and an 80s cult classic movie, it has a lot to do with ASU Lacrosse. The Sun Devils won their first game in the SLC tournament last week by a final of 16-0. And now they get to face #1 Chapman, who went 16-0 in the season. Head coach Todd McRobbie has a look at the Panthers.
Mentality is good. You know, it's the underdog. You know, we're not used to being the underdog going against Chapman. I think this year it's just the way the cards went again, and you know, we're taking it one game. It doesn't matter if it's Chapman next game, you know, UC, Santa Barbara, UNLV, whoever, you know, Grand Canyon. It's just our next game, and that's, you know, in the way of our goal.
Here now we bring in ASU lacrosse analyst Blaine McCormick. You were the color guy for last week's USC shellacking, if you will, 16-0. 16 goals is a ton, plain and simple. How did it happen?
Well, it was all the offense, and I mean, they deserve all the credit for this, and just a high-scoring matchup in this one, and it was the most goals that they beat an opponent by this season as well. But you got to look at the offense and the formation that ASU runs right now. And they run a 3-2-1 offense that you see here, 3 midfielders up top, where it really draws the defense up there, and then with the 2 attackmen down here and the 1 behind the cage, it draws the defense out there. So they're spread out every which way. Now Finn Wells, dummy dodge right here, able to get the sidearm shot for the goal. That's just impressive because the defense is so spread out from the crease that it allows those easy lanes. Now on this play, a little bit of a fluke, but no worries. Look at Henry Archie. He's staying behind because he knows everybody is trying to get that ground ball. And Henry Archie knows that from his previous experience that he can just go right in front of the cage, get that goal because everybody's so preoccupied with that ground ball.
Second goal and the 16th goal, very different, showing the versatility for ASU lacrosse. Look, you're a #1 seed for a reason as far as Chapman goes. 16-0 is not an easy accomplishment no matter what conference you're in. What is Chapman going to bring into this game?
Well, I mean, both of these teams are powerhouse offenses, and especially from Chapman's. They run things a little bit different. Notice the 1-4-1 and their crisp passing, just one cradle and out, very simple lacrosse. Now, this attackman's going to go behind the left pipe, leaving them in a 2-2-2 formation. And highlighted in yellow, then Dave Aprazizi is able to get that shot right to the top. Now, one part, that's talent. But another part, it's those open lanes that Chapman creates, and that's what's going to affect the Sun Devils in this game.
Quickly, what do you think for a prediction on tonight's game?
My prediction, it's going to be close, no matter what. I'm predicting over 20 goals are going to be scored between the two teams. Arizona State takes it by 1 goal.
That's Blaine McCormick with all the ASU lacrosse insight as they get ready to take on Chapman tonight. That game can be seen on the SLC YouTube page, and you can follow all the action on cronkitesports.com, where we'll have the recap and analysis of the result. Thank you, Blaine.
After scraping the bottom of the Pac-12 standings for most of the season, the ASU baseball team now finds themselves right smack in the middle with a 9-9 conference record after a series win against former number 15 Cal and a sweep over the Cardinal. For a team that started 0-4 in Pac-12 play, the Sun Devils seem to have found their stride at a good time, being only a game and a half out of first with 4 more conference series left. But what's coming up this weekend is a 3-game non-conference matchup against the New Mexico Lobos. And for more, we bring in ASU baseball insider Jacob Janauer, who's been covering the team all season long. Thanks for joining us today, Jacob. The Sun Devils are catching fire at a good time, it seems like. Their past 2 series, they beat former number 15 Cal, and then, of course, a sweep over the Cardinal. Pretty impressive, both of those. Are they finding their stride at a right time?
Yeah, absolutely, and a lot of it comes down to the offense. It's really the sluggers are slugging for them right now. It's David Greer, Colby Woodmansey, Brian Servin, Sebastian Zawada, all with big home runs. Recently, Woodmansey actually homered twice against Stanford in that game that completed the sweep, and then Gage Canning and Tyler Williams, 2 freshmen who kind of struggled early in the season, but they're really finding their grip right now, and they seem to be mainstays in the lineup. Williams, an extra base hit machine, and then Gage Canning as well had a few extra base hits, and him along with Andrew Shaps provided some unexpected power for the Sun Devils as well. Both of them homered against Stanford as well, and then Andrew Snow, you can't forget about him. He came along with a huge clutch hit against Cal. that actually tied the game, sent it to extra innings.
Arizona State is in a three-way tie for 5th in the Pac-12 standings with Cal and UCLA. I mean, looking forward, they have 4 more conference series left. The next 2, Oregon and Arizona, they seem to be the most important.
Yeah, and it's 2 very different offenses that they're facing. I mean, the Arizona offense, one of the best in the Pac-12. The Oregon offense, one of the worst. You see here, Oregon hitting just 226 this year. One guy on the team hitting over 300. And then Arizona up to 295, so they're close to 300. That's second in the conference. Arizona's also scored 100 more runs. They're getting on base more extra base hits, helps their slugging percentage out. Of course, they've played a few more games than Oregon, but it's still going to be a very tough task for Seth Martinez and company, especially against these Arizona Wildcats.
Well, we look forward to seeing those games in the future. But coming up this weekend is a non-conference 3-game series against New Mexico. And you can make sure you catch all of that on the Pac-12 digital stream. That starts tonight with Dominic Cotroneo on the call. Jacob, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Olympic sports have been making serious noise in 2016 within Sun Devil athletics. There must be something going on later this year, but more on that later. A week after ASU women's golf claimed an individual Pac-12 champion, ASU women's tennis gamed 2. Ebony Pinojo and Alexandra Osborne claimed Arizona State's first Pac-12 doubles championship in program history. The Sun Devils swept Stanford 6-3, 6-1 to win the prize. Furthermore, ASU won the Pac-12 team championship for the first time as well. Combining their singles and doubles victories, the Sun Devils had 3 more than the next opponents. A pretty solid year on the court for ASU tennis. They were number 22 in the nation at the end of the season as well. Very successful with the Olympic sports coming up at the end of this season. Now we bring in Gavin Shaw, always coming in strong this entire semester, bringing it with the social media, bringing it with the tweets. We're excited to have you back.
You know, Dom, you're a real jerk. You're raising expectations for me that I don't know if I can live up to. But we'll go with the first tweet regardless. The guy who raised expectations throughout his entire career, Carl Bradford, former ASU linebacker, currently on the Green Bay Packers. Guy's tweeting about subtweetception. I can't even get it out. Subtweetception here. He's tweeting about subtweeting in the form of a subtweet. Are we concerned about him getting lost like our boy Leonardo DiCaprio?
I don't know whether he should be concerned or be concerned with his audience because, I mean, if I see subtweet after subtweet after subtweet, I mean, I like to keep things simple, and that's just going to confuse me.
You don't even know who they're talking about anymore.
Exactly.
I don't even know what a subtweet is. Move on.
All right, you heard Dom. We're going to go ahead.
What he says goes.
Yeah, Mia Mazzone, ASU volleyball player. She got stuck in an elevator. And guys, this is funny and all. She's tweeting. It's cute. What's the role of journalists if we don't get to tweet funny stuff about ASU athletes stuck in an elevator?
You know, I'm not really sure. Arizona State, I mean, their volleyball team, they have some of the best Twitter
Presences.
presence. That's the word. I'm sorry. I was going to say performance. But Mia Mazzone, my one question is how she get reception in an elevator?
It seems impossible.
It seems she had a little better situation than the USC offensive line unit had over the weekend. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
12 300-pound offensive linemen getting stuck in the elevator, and an elevator that only had a weight limit of 2,000, so they need to do a little better on their math there.
Yeah, well, Troy, I think going back to your point, why is she using Twitter when she could have just called people if she had cell phone?
Yeah, I know. I don't get it.
Not a lot of common sense from Mia Mazzone. Leave the coverage to us in the future. Third and final tweet, again dealing with ASU football. So we see here an aspiring Sun Devil recruit loves Drake. You know who else loves Drake? Todd Graham. He deleted it, but earlier this week he was tweeting about Drake's newest album's views from the 6 from the ASU press box.
The view's pretty nice.
Yeah. Todd Graham got the Twitter fingers going for him, in the words of Drake.
You know, somebody needs to give Todd Graham his phone back because clearly that wasn't him that tweeted it with him sitting on top of the ASU football press box, you know, just like the Drake album cover. There's a lot of going on. Sure, it's funny.
All right, sounds like the Larmy Tunsil guy got Todd Graham, too. We're looking out for you, Todd. Don't give anyone else your phone. Don't hand out those passwords. Play it safe from a social media expert like me.
The expert, you heard him here. Gavin Shaw joining us for one last time this year. Thanks, Gavin.
Appreciate it.
Now we get to keep talking about some football with Todd Graham's unit that is heading into the NFL draft. You all have heard of DJ Foster, one of the only players in FBS history to have 2,000 receiving and rushing yards in his career. He's being looked at in the first few rounds. Also, Lloyd Carrington, the other 8 on the other side of the ball, could be drafted maybe even tonight in Chicago thanks to his prowess on the defensive side. Now, V. Teofilo On the right guard position, one of the offensive line recruits that's one of the best on this team, as well as Christian Westerman, a local recruit from Hamilton High School, transferred from Auburn, came back home to play for ASU, and had a stellar career in maroon and gold. Look out for these guys in the NFL draft the next 2 nights.
If Drake made a song about going 100-0, it'd probably be about the ASU softball team. After starting the season 15-2, the Sun Devils have lost their last 9 games and sit second to last in the conference standings. There are only 3 more weeks left in Pac-12 play, and Arizona State's schedule doesn't get any easier as it has to play number 13 UCLA, Stanford, and will end the regular season in Corvallis against the Beavers, who all have better conference records than the Sun Devils, except for Stanford. And for more insight, we bring in softball analyst Andre Sims. Andre, I hope you enjoyed my Drake joke.
I did, actually.
Okay, good, because I enjoyed it too. But for the Sun Devils, they're not really enjoying their season right now. 9 losses in a row. There are a lot of problems going with this Sun Devil team, but what's one that really sticks out to you?
It's got to be the long ball, Troy. This team has been susceptible to the home run all season long, and it's really halted a lot of what could have been wins for this team. We saw it over the weekend against Oregon. ASU tied the game late, but then a 3-run home run ultimately did them in the top of the 8th inning. Grand slam earlier in the season that would ultimately prove to be the difference. So if this pitching staff could avoid the long ball just a little bit more, the win column could easily jump 3, 4, 5 wins, especially in the Pac-12 conference so far.
Arizona State, right now they're down, but it doesn't seem like they're out completely. Their last 3 series, yes, they lost, but they've kept it relatively tight. Is it just a problem of them not being able to finish games?
I think it's a problem of them not being able to finish innings, Troy. I mean, the series opener against Oregon, they had first and second, no one out. They had a failed double steal and then 2 lazy fly balls to right. And that's a huge scoring opportunity earlier in the game that they were not able to capitalize on. And so there's been a lot of those innings throughout the season where they just haven't been able to put a crooked number on the scoreboard. It seems like they have one big inning and then the offense is stagnant the rest of the time. So if they're able to capitalize on some of these more scoring opportunities, then ultimately it would help them immensely.
Another tough task, and they could really use the help. Number 13 UCLA this weekend. Real quick, I just want your opinion whether you think ASU will snap their losing streak this weekend against the Bruins.
I think they can. You know, the UCLA pitching staff is also susceptible to the long ball, something that ASU can look to get going this season. One UCLA pitcher has given up 20 long balls this season. I think they still won. I still think they lose the series, though.
All right, well, that's Andre Sims, our ASU softball expert. Thanks for coming, Andre. And if you want to watch the ASU softball team this weekend, they'll be playing number 13 UCLA. That'll be on the Pac-12 networks Friday and Saturday. Won't be streamed on Sunday, but you can catch all of the coverage on cronkitesports.com.
Let me take you to Rio. The Summer Olympic Games are less than 100 days away, but who's counting? A few Sun Devils certainly are. Know who else is? Our own Ryan Curry. He can tell you who exactly is getting ready to head down to Brazil.
Arizona State has a handful of athletes still hoping to qualify for the upcoming Summer Olympics. And that's nothing new to the program. As a matter of fact, ASU has sent 173 athletes to the Games. This summer, they'll look to increase that number, starting with swimming. Bob Bowman as the new head coach, 2 swimmers will have a chance to go, Richard Boas and Tadas Duskinis. Boas has already been to the Olympics for Hungary back in London, and Duskinis is a Lithuanian national record holder. So both of them will have a good chance to represent their countries. In track and field, shot putter Ryan Whitting is looking to throw his way onto the Olympic circuit. Whitting is a 2-time world champion and 6-time NCAA champion. He also holds the NCAA meet record in shot put. And of course, we can't forget about Tim White. The football star has his eyes on making the Olympic team in the triple jump. In 2013, White took the silver medal at the Pan American Junior Championships. He currently ranks 17th in the nation and needs to be in the top 16 to go to the Olympic trials. Look, making the Olympics is a dream for many athletes. And for Sun Devils, that dream will come true this summer in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Good stuff from Ryan Curry. Now we look at the entire conference. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. All representatives from the Pac-12 as far as the most Olympians to come from the conference and medals all time. Then you see ASU right there at number 15. They're trying to add to that total this year and join what Bill Walton so emphatically calls the Conference of Champions.
The Arizona State golf team heads to Salt Lake City this weekend for the 57th annual Men's Golf Pac-12 Championships. The last time the Sun Devils took home the Pac-12 title was in 2008. And with the best amateur player in the world, they look to take it again. Senior John Rahm currently sits at number 2 in the ASU history books in career wins with 9, only behind, you guessed it, Phil Mickelson with 16. Going back to 1979, the Sun Devils have the most Pac-12/10 championships, and it's not even close. But ASU is on the bubble trying to make it to the national championships. It's now or never for ASU, with its 2 best golfers, John Rahm and Max Rutliff, leaving at the end of the season. If the Sun Devils come out on top in Salt Lake City, they'll be guaranteed a spot to the dance, and that looks like it will happen.
Are you much of a golfer, Troy?
No, I do the Happy Gilmore swing, but I'm very effective with it.
Okay, well, you're going to need to be effective in something else here with the way it is, considering you need to find your strategy. You're not very good at beating me on these things.
I'm down by 1, but I'm feeling pretty confident
the last
going
one
into
of the
this.
year. So this is the way it is. You probably know of it by now. We ask ASU athletics questions to each other, and I'm starting right now with ASU lacrosse. 16 goals last weekend. We've talked about it a lot on this show.
Yep.
How many are they going to score this weekend? The over-under is set at 12.5.
All right, I'm going to say 13-10. Arizona State is going to take this win. History favors ASU in this matchup. They've won the last 5 times, and with their season this year, it's been so tough. They played 7 top 10 teams. Chapman, they've only played 2. ASU by 3 going into this next game. And I'll ask the next question. NFL draft was last night. No Sun Devils were chosen. Do you think a Sun Devil will be chosen soon?
Well, you got tonight and you got tomorrow night still. I really think it's going to be an offensive lineman that's selected first. I think it's going to be Christian Westerman. He's one of my favorites as far as looking at his build and his body moving forward into the NFL really translate well. Also, you got VT Ofilo that could really be chosen early as well. Everyone's going to want to see DJ Foster, but I don't see him going to maybe the 6th round. As far as ASU softball moving forward, do you think that they were snubbed in the Pac-12 Century team, considering they only had 2 members on that team?
And two members of the team were pitchers. I think they need some bats. Amber Freeman, definitely a snub in this game. She has the trophy case to prove it. She was the Pac-12 Player of the Year back in her sophomore season. She was a 3-time All-American. She's 4th in RBIs, doubles, and batting average in a single season, and she was also 4th in ASU history in home runs. Yes, Amber Freeman was a snub, should have been on the list. Now we'll switch over to the other diamond, ASU Baseball. Currently in the middle of the Pac-12 standings right now. Do you see them finishing in the top 5?
They're only 1.5 games back of first place. We'll make that 2 games back now that U of A won last night. Granted, in the coaches poll of the preseason, they were picked to finish 6th. Anything above that is obviously going to be an accomplishment considering how much turnover there was this season. I really believe they can finish in the top 4 considering their schedule favors them. They get to face U of A in 2 weeks. They get Oregon next weekend, who's been scuffling in Pac-12 play lately. Everybody else, with the exception of U of A, facing ASU is behind them in the Pac-12 standings. So the path is laid out for them.
All right, well, we'll see what the path has for us and the winner of this, the way it is. The last one, yes! Ties it back up. That felt good. That felt really good. Well, I'm a firm believer in second chances, and apparently so are the Miami Dolphins. Last night in the NFL draft, the Dolphins picked Laramie Tunsil 13th overall and had to watch their newest player be pestered by the media about a video of him that happened over 2 years ago. I get how it could affect his draft stock and why the media would ask him about it. But watching the draft last night, the picture came up one too many times. Tunsil has not failed a drug test since he's been at school, and he's owned up to his mistake. Last night was about his past when it should have been about him celebrating the fact that he's going to be a professional football player. And that's the way it is. For the last time, top plays, number 3, Zach Mathian. He's been doing it all season long. He'll win that face-off. Thank you very much. Look how fast he is. My gosh, he's a mongoose. Now you see it, now you don't. Patrick Haviland finishing the job.
Number 2, let's go on to the diamond. Baseball, swinging, ripping. Brian Serven, he eats Stanford pitching for breakfast. The go-ahead, eventual game-winning home run, the top of the 10th inning in an ASU sweep over Stanford down on the farm.
And now we'll stay in the same place. Andrew Snow, ASU Baseball. Yeah, that one's going to get by. No, it's not. Oh, my goodness. Andrew Snow all over the field. Look how nonchalant he is, flipping it back up. You know, Dom, I heard before the game it was almost canceled because Snow was all over the field.
He's as cool as a snowman on that little flip. You know who his cousin is? Dustin Pedroia.
Dustin Pedroia. I was about to say that.
That's going to do it for our show and this entire semester. So we thank you so much for watching here on Cronkite Sports Live. We thank our other anchors as well, Elaine Wilson and Zach Pokleb, our producer Brett Deckert, and our director Joey Hardy. But on behalf of Troy Lynch, I'm Dominic Cotronio, and everybody behind the camera and everybody that I haven't been able to mention yet, thank you again for watching. And until next time, keep on swinging.